Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. To all Reddit travelers, what is your creepiest hotel story? Found a hotel in Yangon, Burma, the day we got there for pretty cheap. They mentioned the rates were low because maintenance was being done on several floors. We sleep fine, wake up and head to breakfast. At breakfast we met some Germans who had also stayed the night in our hotel. Us and the Germans, found out later that they had been moved because they were on one of the levels reserved for maintenance, and part of the maintenance included gassing the rooms for bugs. We weren't on that floor thankfully, but it has always stuck with me how seemingly easy it could have been to have gotten mixed up in that. In 1996, while air drying naked after a shower lying on my hotel bed in Beijing with the curtains drawn, I received a call demanding I put on clothes. When I was 12, my family took a vacation to Europe. At our hotel in Rome, there was this amazing indoor pool, and being a child of my age, I would have spent the entire vacation there if I could. My mother is with me, but is preoccupied with one of my other siblings. He speaks English as well and starts teasing me for being ticklish and telling me how I'm simply adorable. Through my giggles, I keep shyly asking him to stop. When I was 12, I was staying in a motel with my mom on a road trip. We were in the middle of nowhere in Texas at a motel that had a decent rating in our guidebook and was really cheap, so we went for it. I looked out the window and saw about half a dozen bikers in vests appear out of nowhere, maybe a nearby room, and start confronting the owner. My mom came inside quickly and we watched them start harassing the guy, things like "she's paid to be here." Everybody left fairly quickly and we didn't ever hear anything about it the next day at checkout. We weren't able to sleep very well because we were so shook up, but it was better than getting in the car again. Thank you, anonymous biker gang. I arrive at a secluded, coastal hotel south of Marmaris, Turkey around 2 a.m. It had been a long day in Istanbul followed by a flight and long bus ride into Marmaris where I haggled with non-English speaking taxi drivers, who were not even aware that this small resort exists. It's on fire. When the owner, standing out front, sees us, he opens the taxi door excitedly. "You come. I have nice room for you." I point out that the hotel is on fire, but he simply gestures and says small fire. "No problem. You come." I am utterly exhausted. We pause at the second floor landing and the owner tells me, "See. Fire only on this side of hotel. This side no fire. You come." My exhaustion removes every ounce of common sense and I follow him to a room down the hall. The room is indeed fire-free. In the morning I awake, alive, wondering if I dreamt the entire thing. I go down the smoky stairs past the charred other side of the hotel. The owner is so happy to see me, still alive, that he eats breakfast with me. I went back a few years later and the hotel had fully recovered. I once stayed in a B&B which had a shared bathroom. The first night I got up at probably like 2 a.m. and I was bursting for a pee. The bathroom was down the hallway, not too far, but seemed like such an effort in my tired state. Face painted and everything. He was squatted down on the floor but his trousers were still up. I looked at him for a second, he gave me a wave with a smile and began just silently pushing. I just ran back to my room, locked the door and decided to pee in a bottle. I arrived late at a hotel for a business trip. Flight had a malfunction so we had to land. They fixed it on the tarmac and we never deplaned. Room already paid for, confirmation number in hand, etc. I got there about 5 hours after I was supposed to be there. Of course, they gave away my room. The event I was there for was in their hotel. I wanted my room. I was polite but resolutely firm. They did some scrambling and asked if I would consider a damaged room under construction. "As long as the sheets are clean so I can go to bed, I don't care," was my reply. Mistake. The case had been closed so there was no legal issue to contend with, but someone had been killed, or nearly killed, not 100% sure, in that room. They had primed over the blood stains on the walls and ceiling but had only taped down semi-clear plastic over the pooled blood on the carpets. They gave me a completely new bed and TV from on-site inventory so I was comfortable, but, man, it was creepy as FCK. The creepiest part was the priming job. It was so obviously blood splatter. You could see where the person had been hit and where they fell. You could also see how they had tried to get up and where they had finally collapsed. In Mexico, my GF and I stayed a night in a hut in the jungle. No running water, no electricity. As we are from Central Europe, we are not used to dangerous wildlife. Spider, Scorpions, ect. There was a beautiful cenote nearby and at some point it rained like crazy. The daytime was amazing. In our hut was a bed with a mosquito net with huge holes in it. It was pitch black in the hut as we laid down and got comfortable trying to sleep. I felt a bit creeped out and decided to check the hut for insects with my phone's flashlight. Bad idea, not the night's sleep. I had wrapped up like a mummy every piece of clothing we had with us. Okay, so I already posted this on another thread, but when I was about 4 years old my family ended up staying at the Cedar Lodge Motel where Cary Stayner worked right before he murdered 4 women. By the time we arrived at the motel, it was late, we were all cranky, and we couldn't wait to get out. But the moment we pulled in, something set my mom's teeth on edge and she insisted that we left and found another hotel, reservation or not. I can remember my mom actually refusing to let go of our hands, making us stay right by her side as she kept looking around while checking in. To try and get her to relax, my dad suggested we go to the pool, thinking it would calm her down. The moment the man delivering towels arrived, my mom immediately grabbed us out of the water and rushed us back to the room. The man gave her the absolute creeps and she says there was just this feeling of pure evil when he looked at us. The next morning, we left to go to another hotel but my mom couldn't stop talking about how evil that motel was. About 2 months later, she and my dad were up late watching the news when they started reporting on a man who had murdered a woman and 2 young girls in Yosemite. Cary Stayner was the man who brought us our towels at the pool. We've never gone back to Yosemite and my mom is always insistent that we listen to our gut feeling and when every bone in your body is telling you something is wrong. GTFO. Did the couchsurfing.com thing with a friend a few years ago. We are both big guys so typically feel safe everywhere we go. Show up at the house, 60-year-old guy opens the door while on the phone. Hess only wearing sweatpants. He signals for us to enter. He continues his conversation and ends with an "I love you." He turns to us and says welcome, and apologizes for being on the phone. He mentions he has several GFs and boasts about being a ladies' man. He then starts to show us pictures. These girls looked like they were 14. While sliding through the pic he accidentally showed us one of their passports. This weirded us out a lot. He walked us to the room while rubbing his belly. Told us we make breakfast in the morning. We decided to sleep the night, but leave before he woke up. My friend slept on the bedroom door so he couldn't sneak in. We got up super early and bolted. We got super weird vibes from the guy and just felt gross/weird about the whole thing. I was traveling out of the country right after finishing up a huge 5-day work event where I had about 10 hours of sleep total during the 5 days. I got to the motel, which is kinda run down and the carpet and blankets are damp but I'm so exhausted I don't even really think about it. I fall asleep pretty much immediately at like 8 p.m. local time. At maybe 11 p.m. or so, I get a call from the motel phone saying there's been a complaint about noise. I tell them that's impossible, I've been sleeping. They ask me if maybe it's someone else in the room and I tell them nope, I'm here alone so there's definitely no one else making noise. I say yes again. Fall back asleep immediately. When I woke up and thought about it some more, I realize how weird the entire interaction was. There was absolutely no noise I could hear anywhere nearby and I don't know why the motel staff would need to clarify so many times that I was alone. Apparently they never called. So I assume it must have been someone calling the different rooms to see who was in the rooms and how many people. I've never been so glad to always use the extra latch chain lock. While in the Isles of Scotland, we stayed in a B&B. It was owned by a couple. The bedrooms were extremely well done and beautiful, but on everything there was signs to not touch. To use the shower, you would have to ask the couple and the internet ended at 11 p.m. When we checked out of her B&B, she came into our room and said that we stunk, and opened the window to prove this and demanded for money immediately. Another traveler had to go and check. We were in an isolated place, to pay for the room and she took their bags and wouldn't give them back. But on the way out, she asked everyone if they enjoyed their stay. Family vacation. 1 a.m., my brother and I had just finished watching The Shining on TV. Neither of us had seen it before. We heard someone trying to open our door. No one else was supposed to have keys. Someone tried to swing open the door, but the hotel lock stopped them. They kept trying to open it multiple times, banging the door against the lock. After a few tries, they gave up. The hotel desk clerk accidentally entered the wrong room for their keycards. It was probably best way I saw The Shining. I can't be scared more than that from that movie. Not particularly creepy, but pretty effing bleak. Been in Australia about a week, decided to go straight to a farm to tick off the farm work for the second-year visa. Arrived at this rundown house, with the internal walls covered in graffiti, reminiscent of a crack den, in the asshole of nowhere, told that the weekly shopping run isn't for 2 more days, so here's a loaf of bread each. Start work the next day, picking runner beans paid at a $1.10 a kilo, busting my ass to make something like $50 in 14 hours. Did a few hours the next day until my mate stood up like FCK this SHT I'm not having this, and straight back to Melbourne we went. Ended up in an amazing hostel with great people, earning $25 an hour, with memories I'll never forget. Horror show averted. A friend and I once stayed at a pretty fancy B&B for the night. The lady who owned it was absolutely lovely, but would appear out of nowhere. We'd be sitting alone in a large room with one doorway and suddenly she was in the room with us. She seemed to know things that we'd said or done as well. The thing that tripped us out the most was hearing someone trying to open our door during the night. She was super lovely and the building was beautiful, but we were relieved to check out the next morning. I was staying in Birmingham, Alabama at a Hyatt. Nothing crazy. Nothing obviously creepy. One night around 2 a.m. I woke up to a man screaming. Like, stabbed in the heart scream. I sat there in a panic, wondering if I should call someone. But when I didn't hear anything else I chalked it up to a dream. The next night I woke up around 3 a.m., and had this horrible feeling that someone was in my room. I rolled over and there was an old man, sitting on the AC, it was boxed in, smoking, looking away from me. I stared at him for a few seconds and he turned to look at me. I don't lucid dream. While I have vivid dreams, they are not that vivid. I can describe that man to a T, and yet he was never there. A chalet in the state of Maine, Vermont with 3 others. The lady at the front desk was approximately 1 billion years old with cloudy eyes and her front desk was a small table next to a recliner in a room full of knickknacks and china dolls. The bathroom had a metal clawfoot tub. The worst part, though, was the door at the back of the room. I assumed it would be another closet but we opened it and there was nothing but cold and darkness. We used the flashlight on our phones and discovered a long, wide, cement-walled hallway. The night went smoothly and nothing ever happened but I still feel like we survived a night in a boring horror movie. I've tried to look for it again but with no results. I'll have to ask my grandma who booked the trip. My mom was traveling for work and sat next to a man, fellow business traveler, on the plane. They had a casual conversation and exchanged business cards. Turns out the creep on the plane was pretending to be her husband to try to get into her room. Okay, I've got 3 creepy stories back from when I was backpacking through India with my girlfriend. We are 2 girls from Europe. In Bangalore we booked a hotel after 18 hours spent in a night bus. We were very tired and wanted a bed and some food. The boys at the reception were kind of creepy and staring at us all the time but we shrugged it off and went in our room at around 9 in the evening. I tried to call the reception but the phone was out. Suddenly the door handle to our room started moving. I turned on the lantern on my phone and looked at the door, it was slowly opening. My girlfriend screamed and I jumped off the bed, pushing the door back into its place. Then, I locked the door again. 5 minutes pass and we hear the noise again. The person outside had a key and now they were opening the door, slowly. It was so creepy, I kept banging on the door shouting get the FCK out. Help. We called the police who eventually did nothing. We were in South, booking a hotel. My girlfriend was using the bathroom when she suddenly started screaming. I went in just in time to see a hole in the ceiling and an eye. The person ran immediately and we could hear the footsteps on the roof. After our 6 months travels, we really tired of booking cheap and scary places for sleep. I had an accident and was barely moving, so I asked my girlfriend to book the nicest hotel, asked specifically for white sheets. We went to sleep in our white sheets just to wake up hours later covered in ticks and bug beds full of our blood. 5/7. I toured around in bands a lot in my 20s, and not once but twice came back to my hotel room to find a turd in my shower. I was the only person with a key to the room. One was in Germany and one was in Belgium. 2 years apart, completely separate tour and crew. Once witnessed a thief breaking into cars in the parking lot from my hotel room window. Called the front desk and they had security go outside with a big ass stick. We had the bird's eye view as this security officer is searching for the thief and the thief is evading him. Was in San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua last year. Massive spiders all over the room. Even woke up with a couple of little scorpions in my bed the first morning. Next night I'm sitting at the bar, drinking and chatting with a mate, feel a tickle on the back of my neck and think it's a mosquito or something. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.